Last week, we discussed the story of a lecturer who was involved in the sex for grades scandal. However, the feelers we're getting from this university is that they may not punish the lecturer because there's yet to be a complainant. The student hasn't actually officially made a complaint. Now, what are your thoughts on this? To give us your view, you can call us on 070-8066-8014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag TVC so we can read your tweets. In the papers today, there are updates on from the VC. Who has that story?
So the VC mentioned that, and his name is Eyitokpe Ogunbodede.
Professor
Eyitokpe Ogunbodede mentioned that they would have to involve the police to investigate the recording. And that even though the complaint isn't official, they don't want any to hit any glitch within that process. Yeah. So that was all he has to say. They also mentioned in that report that one of the professors, as a colleague of this said man, said that, and I must quote, he said, brainless and laziness of the ladies. He said, and the female students said to be a blackmailer seeking to destroy the lecturer because of her brainlessness and laziness. So according to one of the colleagues who refused to be named, a colleague of the professor, mentioned that it was a blackmail, that this is entirely a blackmail by a brainless and lazy
In addition,
students.
also, the VC also added that the reason why they might involve the police is because they've not seen either the complainant or even the professor. So 9 of them have come forward. So they need to investigate. They need to involve the police to go and find these guys out so they can even properly ask the questions. They don't know. The man has gone into hiding. The girl isn't coming forward.
I think it's expected that the girl will be hesitant about whether to continue what she has started, or, you know, because of the kind of society we live in. You can understand when an ex-professor is saying, a friend of the accused professor is saying the kind of blackmailer. And usually what people don't know is that lecturers know better than to intimidate a student. They hardly do. If they try, they hardly continue or push it forward. They intimidate average students. Yeah. Students who naturally would struggle to pass. So they see you doing the work and think, okay, because you're an average student, you might not have the confidence an A student would have, and you know, you might want to concede to them. So these kind of things should be investigated. It raises the question of the character of the professor involved. I expect the committee that the school has put in place to be talking about this kind of questions.
But
indecency should not be encouraged in any form. And if this kind of audio comes out, they should raise those questions.
Right. It's going to be difficult for them because we don't have the complainants. You cannot, listen, we don't have the complainants. Now, what I expect is, before you release that video, you would have made up your mind. Should I come forward? If anything happens, will I be bold enough to come forward and make my case? Right. But if you know that you are not ready, you're not going to be bold enough, you're going to chicken out, what's the essence of releasing the video?
It brings the question why you released the video in the first place.
Exactly.
What exactly was your objective?
Nigeria, and I say it again and again on this couch. It is not easy down here. If you were in America where it's justice system, even in America, some people will still run. They'll chicken out. Here, where you have people within the system, they will victimize that student. They will make her life difficult. I'm sure by now some people will be telling her, why did you even start? Run, don't finish.
We have social media.
The whole nation
Everybody's aware.
Yes. The whole nation is saying, you know what, we agree with you.
The whole nation is not the school.
Well, but we need her to come out.
Some people would even stigmatize this lady. Eventually,
they will.
No, they will. With the society we live in.
Is she going to get back into that same school where one of the professors is saying that she's brainless and lazy and there will be no stigma attached to her? But I want to even leave that aside. I want to face the university. It is great Ife. They walk with one chip on their shoulder like they are a special university above others. And they are not able to internally regulate themselves to maintain the standard. How do you have a lecturer? It is my opinion, Morayo. I am entitled to my opinion because I feel that a university is a citadel of learning. Yes, I don't get why you would rise to being a professor and you would have your name mentioned.
Like this.
In a tape, your name mentioned. You did not deny it is not me. Don't call my, that's not my name.
He hasn't come out. On
the phone, we had a recording. It wasn't doctored. He mentioned his name. His name was mentioned. He said, don't call my name. Not saying this is not my name. And he was asking for sex in exchange for passing the person. The university itself should first say, we would say that you should resign. Well, not even resign. If he doesn't take the high road, suspend him for investigation.
Yes.
That will give a strong signal that we as a school, the great Ife, we don't take this kind of thing. What? We will support ethics above our own mates.
So wait, let me come to the lawyer here. Somebody put out a video out there.
Yes.
Nobody has come to make an official complaint. On what basis am I suspending my professor?
Exactly.
There's something going on. I'm talking to Nima, the lawyer.
No, look.
So there's evidence going around social media saying this happened. I recorded. It was my voice. It wasn't my voice. There's nobody has come to me to complain. So why would I not suspend
the image of the school that Sope was talking about here? The first thing you can do is investigate this, and to do it transparently is to ask the lecturer involved to step aside.
The lecturer has gone into hiding himself.
But you officially take a stand, he steps aside while he's suspended, while you investigate this, so that all the lecturers will know the stand of the school. Now you can hear, the other day the PRO called on the show, and when he was talking, he got to the point where he was saying, if you know what these students do, those were not the questions.
If you know what the students are wearing.
Hang in there. Let me take this call.
Okay. The facts are available.
Morning, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Hassan.
I'm really disappointed in Nima as a lawyer and the Tope. In a situation where we have GSM operators in Nigeria, where you can detect the two people involved in the conversation, you know, the issue of getting to know the culprit and the perpetrator is very, very easy about this issue.
Thank you.
And the university should go forward. Because this is an indictment on the credibility of that university. This is an issue of morality. I see no reason why a lecturer, look, I was in university, so we knew these lecturers always have an upper hand over the helpless and the weak students. It's very easy about that.
Mr. Hassan, we're on the same page.
To go furthermore, they should not sweep it under the carpet. They must go further and investigate it and punish the culprit, and even the girl involved.
All right, thank you very much.
I quickly say that whether there's a complainant or not, administratively, there's something called administrative investigation, and you know, this can be done administratively. Now, when it's a crime, we know the state has to come in. You need complainant and all that for that. So these are two different issues.
If you do not come out, if the girl or lady in question does not come out, it's going to be difficult, even if the investigations are still ongoing. On what basis? You cannot cry more than the bereaved.
Hang in there, Nima, 1 second.
On the ethics of the
Let me say one thing before we round up.
To you.
What if myself and a gentleman put together that videotape, that audio tape,
to blackmail that professor?
Somebody wears on the act of Professor Akindele, and we now do that. It could be anything.
Your reply is in the papers. Involve the police, the kind of forensic audit
that
indicted the Danish man.
That's
what. Go ahead with it. What I was doing here
by involving the police.
But the issue shoved aside with the culture behind it. We had the PRO say on the phone to us that the kind of dresses they wear. If you, as a professor,
that's a different issue.
That grown up cannot control yourself with a naked girl, then you're not fit to be a professor.
We have to go on a break. Now, I have to say this, though. The professor did say that the 1 week investigation that the set up a committee is going to lapse on Wednesday, that's tomorrow. Yes. So hopefully they get a report and then they know exactly what to do. So we're still on this case to keep abreast of what's going on. Let's go on a break now. When we come back, we'll discuss cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy. Yes, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So a lot of people are living with disabilities in our society. Some disabilities are from birth while others aren't. Cerebral palsy is one of such that a child is usually born with. We've discussed this condition a few times on the show, but we dare say we can't talk about it enough. We have with us a Nigerian writer living with cerebral palsy. She is also a lawyer and advocate for the people living with disabilities. Welcome to Biloba Ajayi.
Thank you.
And also the CEO, Gbenga Artsmith. His name is Gbenga Ayo Smith. Welcome to the show, Gbenga.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the neck pieces you gave to all of us.
You're welcome.
Because cerebral palsy, I think, is green.
Yes, that's
to celebrate. That's a color we used to connote the date of cerebral palsy. So everybody knows about this condition. People are talking about, there are people out there that don't understand it and how to live with it or how to even manage it when you have it in a child. So I will let you share your experience growing up and how it's been and what you've been doing so far in advocating for those living with this disability.
Okay, so
simple definition for me for cerebral palsy, this is how I explain it. I say that, you know, if you read textbooks, it would say cerebral palsy is a disorder of movement and posture that is caused by damage to the developing brain, sometime during pregnancy, during delivery, or shortly after birth. So basically, what happens is a woman is pregnant, and there's so many things that could happen to cause damage to the brain. Any of these things could lead to cerebral palsy. So basically what happens in cerebral palsy is that the parts of the brain that control movement and posture are damaged. And the interesting bit is that because everything in your body is controlled by muscles, like your eyes, your ears, everything is muscles, cerebral palsy manifests differently in every single person with the condition. So if you put 15 people here today with cerebral palsy, we will all look different. We all have different needs, and we'll have different, you know, issues and manifestations. So that's one of the things that makes cerebral palsy kind of a very unique condition. I always say it's very individualistic. So you can't treat, you know, you can't treat us the same way. So the management is also individualistic, which means that you have to build a management plan per person based on how they present. So you can't say, oh, all people with cerebral palsy will need this. You have to take it on a case-by-case basis and then manage that.
I've always wondered, and I've always been afraid, because it's normal for any parent who has a child who is not developing as other children, as fast as other children are developing, to have concerns. And I've always wondered if it's possible for someone who has cerebral palsy to live independently over time. And looking at you, you speak so well.
I hear that all the time.
Yes, I've been having conversations with you, and you're smart. And I'm wondering, so how was it, like, back to the question she asked, how was your growing up? Was it something your parents did differently that made you turn out like this?
Well, I always say this. For anybody that has watched any of my interviews, I always say my parents were rock stars. Now, it wasn't really anything that they did specifically differently. It was just in the decisions that they made. So first thing that they did, and I always say that thankfully my mom was in the medical profession. So she knew straight on, immediately she got the diagnosis that there was no cure. So she didn't waste her time trying to find a So she immediately just went, my dad always says, she just came home and said, I have news, so this is it. There's no cure. This thing can only be managed. And so my dad went, okay, what do we do next? And so they immediately decided, okay, the management plan was going to be put in place. And my dad insisted that, look, I understand that she can't, at that time, I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk, I couldn't use my hands. But my dad kept saying, this girl has one thing she does, she can't talk. So we're going to leverage on that one ability while we're trying to, you know, improve these other things that she can't do.
Did you have to go through physiotherapy?
Yes.
Did you have a special school?
Nope.
Were you born here?
Yes, I was born. I literally can't even name my birth hospital. I was actually born in Fini Medical Center in GRA. Like, I was born here, I was raised in Abule Egba. Like, Abule Egba? Yes. I went to schools in Iju. So, like, literally, like...
then physiotherapy?
So, physiotherapy, my whole, like, for the first 15 years of my life, it was constant back-to-back physio. At some point, I had to have surgeries. But the one thing my parents did do, and I always will be grateful for, is that they always focused on the things I was able to do part-time. Now, we weren't, I mean, I didn't start out being able to walk, but yes, we were going to work towards that. But they didn't focus on the things I was unable to do at the expense of the things I was doing. So because I could talk, one of the first things my parents did was to insist on me getting an education, and that made all of the difference. And the best thing they did, my dad said, look, no special schools for my kid. We are going to figure out a way to get her into mainstream education.
All right, let me come to Gbenga. Gbenga, how are you involved in this, or why did you get involved in the campaign for cerebral palsy?
Okay, first of all, Gbenga Art Meet is a socially conscious brand. And secondly, my older brother lives with cerebral palsy. Okay. You know, so I've seen the struggles that he went through. I saw the discrimination, even from we siblings, because for a very long time we didn't know. He's 36 this year. And for a very long time we didn't understand. So we're not so tolerant. But when we came to understand it, we started to understand some of the things that they face. You know, people with disability, they're seen as people in desperate need of help. They can't do anything on their own. So, you know, I just thought it's time to talk about this thing. There are a lot of misconceptions. People thought, okay, they're not intelligent, they're not capable people, but they are very, very, very capable. In fact, many of them do better than able-bodied people, in quotes.
Right.
So I said it was time to talk about it.
While deciding to have children, I used to read up what processes was best for me. And after I was diagnosed of cervical incompetence after my first child, I thought, what kind of thing I put her through? Are you in any way advocating? Because sometimes this is due to the process of childbirth, child delivery. So are you in any way advocating which is the safest? Which have you decided which is safest? Which is, of course, the cesarean?
I think that you don't, because you see, we're Africans, and you know we're very religious and superstitious, and so it's a simple. So the thing is this. You advise. So you say, I mean, a lot of the cases of cerebral palsy that I see in my work, 80 to 90% of them are preventable. If only people would do the right things. But hey, we're Africans.
Tell us the right things.
So for instance, your doctor says to you, you need to have a cesarean section. And then the average Nigerian mother says, it is not my portion in Jesus' name. And then, you know, obviously, the birth process becomes difficult, the child can't breathe, the child comes out. And then or is it those who say, oh, they have to give birth in church?
So I read somewhere that it is lack of oxygen to the brain at the right time.
Yeah, so it's different
things.
It's different things. It's anything that can cause damage to the brain. So in my case, it was lack of oxygen to the brain at birth because I was preterm. So a lot of preterm babies are also at risk. A lot of the cases I've also seen have been caused by, you know, postnatal jaundice that was not properly managed. So,
okay, I don't want us to dwell too much on the causes because, as you said, it's not curable.
It's not.
We need to focus more on the conversation on how to manage it.
Right.
Because you said your parents had that kind of schedule with you.
Yeah.
I need you to talk to families out there who are now dealing with a child. What are the first steps? What do they do and where can they find help?
Okay, so first steps is always, if your child is not meeting milestones, I mean, there are developmental milestones at the time that the child's neck is supposed to be stable, the child's supposed to sit at a certain time. Child is not meeting milestones. Go back to your pediatrician. Stop listening to experienced mothers who tell you, don't worry, he will see it, he will be okay. Go back to your pediatrician because the earlier that you get a diagnosis, the earlier you can begin to intervene.
Right.
So go back to your pediatrician and get a clear diagnosis because there are a lot of conditions that present similarly. Right. Yeah. So the fact that a child is not meeting their milestones does not always mean that it's a cerebral palsy. It might be something else.
Is it expensive to manage?
Yes, it's actually termed the most expensive childhood disability to manage.
I was going to talk about
schools. Break. Okay. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Welcome back.
Thanks for staying with us. Yes, Nima.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about how the school, you know, the system around you helps a lot. You said you went to normal schools, and I wondered how your teachers received you, how your classmates dealt with, you know, around you. What was the reception like?
It was actually fantastic. I mean, the story is very interesting in the sense that it was a school that my siblings were already going to. And so the school owner knew when my mom was pregnant as she was doing school run, so he knew she was pregnant. And then, I mean, a year and a half passed, and I wasn't enrolled. So he point back just asked her, like, are you fighting with us? Like, why are you not bringing your baby to school? And then she just, you know, my mom said, my baby can't come to school because my baby has cerebral palsy and she can't sit, she can't stand, she can't use her hands. And then the man said that he was really interested in that. And so he actually took our address and came to the house. And of course, the only thing I could do, I was talking. So I was literally just reporting everybody to my mom. And the man said to my mom, like, if this child can't walk this well, this child is going to school, bring her to me on Monday.
Wow, fantastic.
And literally, the rest, they say, is history. I mean, he put me in class and gave me a personal care assistant because, of course, at that time, I couldn't even sit independently, so I needed support for pretty much everything. Right. Gave me a PCA for the classroom. And, you know, I always say this, children are naturally not discriminatory. Children are curious. Once you answer their questions, they are the ones that will teach you the best ways to even handle the person. So children taught me to walk. Like, I learned to walk in school because my classmates would pull me out of the chair and say, let's go. Yeah. And because I was also 3, so I mean, I didn't understand. Let's go is let's go. So I started trying to follow them.
I know for a fact that when properly handled, it's not degenerative. Yeah. So, but I want to quickly ask, is it hereditary?
No, it's not.
Then secondly, for parents out there who have children with this disease, what are the best treatment options for them?
Like I said, management options are individualistic. So you cannot blanket management. So it has to be done per person.
Okay,
but
so
there are general things that are important. Physiotherapy will always be there will always be need for, if there's need for medication, then you can't afford to scrimp on medication. But you always have to see professionals.
Okay, so I want to quickly ask you, Benga. You had a senior brother that had cerebral palsy. What was your parenting input to help you deal with him? What do you think you can advise parents right now on how to inform siblings of their cerebral palsy child, how to best deal with it, and generally what your lesson to them?
Okay, I think my parents showed him tough love. So they didn't treat him differently like it was a special needs child, someone who needs to be, if you get me, pampered in such a way. So he had, they disciplined him. He did well, he was rewarded for it. So I think that kind of helped him. It felt normal. It didn't feel like I was different. I was worthy of sympathy, so it really helped him develop well.
What day is Cerebral Palsy Day? Because obviously, when is it and how do we celebrate it?
It was last month.
Well, last
month
right?
was
So
Cerebral Palsy.
March is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month in the United States. Because we don't have one for Nigeria, we adopt that. And then October 6th is World Cerebral Palsy Day.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So when this again, October 6th.
So green, so for those who support, we have to wear green. Green
Yes.
is the color.
Yes.
You've done such a good job so far. I've
And
heard
you're
about
so
you.
happy.
Are you writing books? What are the plans for future? Your love life, what you want to do?
Okay, so pretty much, I had written 3 books before I got into cerebral palsy advocacy.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to write books on cerebral palsy. Parents have been asking me to do that. I don't know if I'm going to do that. That's still kind of up in the air.
Love life?
Love life, I am happily single.
Are you searching?
No, I'm not.
You're quite busy right now, though.
I'm so busy right now. Like, I don't need distraction.
Oh, yeah, right. Then God gives you antenna and I say you won't answer. I beg, that's all we can take on the show today. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did. Don't forget, tomorrow is our live audience day. Please come early so you can be part of the live audience on the show. Come, dress nicely and all that. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.